What's up, guys? Welcome back for another EVE Online video. This one's going to be kind of going over the status, I guess, of the Rorqual. Um, I'm kind of in the school of thought that I enjoy the Rorqual as a mining ship, like a solo mining ship. And, you know, it's really not meant, they really don't want it for that anymore. I mean, if you've done any Rorqual mining in the past, like 2 to 5 years, you know, it's nothing like it used to be, especially with all like the new compression changes that have just come out and everything like that. So really the purpose of this video is just to kind of like showcase like how mining, the environment of ice mining is solo with the Rorqual, and showing the compression system that's in there now, and just kind of talking about, you know, my experiences with the Rorqual, what kind of things I would like to see with the Rorqual and stuff like that. So this is kind of geared towards experienced miners already. I'm not gonna even begin to go over like Rorqual solo mining strategies or fits, but you know, this is my fit right now for it. You have to bring up your capacitor quite a bit nowadays, and they, you know, really kind of nerfed the power grid and the CPU of the Rorqual as well, so you can't really put a lot of stuff on it like you used to. Normally with a solo drone mining fit, I wouldn't even be running these boosters, but occasionally I have people come out who are mining alongside me and that I'll boost them. And plus, with the way the compression module works now, anybody within 144 kilometers can compress within their own ship. So, you know, if I am providing this compression support since I'm already sieged, then, you know, I should provide boost as well. One thing to note about the changes is before you could just activate the capital industrial core, right, and you could siege, and then you could, you know, compress at will, right? Well, they took that away. I mean, sieging still, deploying still does what it used to do, but you can no longer compress by just turning on your siege module. So you have to essentially turn on your siege module, and you have to turn on the ice compressor just so you yourself as a Rorqual pilot can, you know, compress your own gear. I usually run this like improved cloaking device just so if I want to like AFK in between rocks, I can just cloak the Rork and, you know, kind of chill. Drone link is just to get, you know, those drones a little bit further out there for the stuff that comes on grid and things like that. The invul core, you probably don't need to use it. I mean, it's kind of just there to be there. If you get in trouble, you're probably gonna die anyway. So, you know, in a normal, if I was gonna, you know, if I was going to go less expense on this, then I would just take a lot of this stuff off. The other thing you have to kind of do too is if you want to use these rigs now with the way that the ship has changed, you have to pretty much max out the rigging skill for the drones, so it lowers the CPU penalty. But normally you have cap stuff, cap booster, shield tank. I also run these expanded cargo holds because it just allows me to fit a little bit more in the hull. In the hold as far as, you know, ice goes and things like that. So I'm actually going to change direction here. I'm just going to go to this rock that's pretty close to me. We're going to get this kind of like mining thing started so you can kind of see what it's all about. Actually, I'm going to siege this real quick so you can, or simulate this so you can see. Right now, you know, in current 2022, your excavator ice harvesting drones are going to do 1 unit of ice every 14.3 seconds. So you're looking at 5 units every, you know, 14 seconds, roughly, you know, a little bit less than, or about 20 per minute, whatever. But it's not actually 20 per minute because of residue. Because now, you know, the drones can actually fail to bring ice to you after a cycle, as you'll see. So we still have to use heavy water to siege and everything, as you can tell. I'm carrying that. And yeah, we'll just get these little guys out there and start mining, and you can kind of see the progress and how it goes. And once we get some ice in the hold, I'll turn on the compressor and, you know, kind of just show you how that all works and everything. So we'll go and get our excavators out. We're closing in. I usually, when I'm mining solo like this, I'll just, you know, kind of get as close as I can, and then you know, I'll even bounce off if I want to, because once I bounce off and I siege, I'll start backing away from the rock essentially. And so I'm going to come in a little bit closer and probably right about there, because once you turn on the compression or the siege module, you're just going to kind of like coast until you run out of momentum, you know, inertia and whatnot. As you can see, we're kind of slowly going into it. There it goes. So, like I said, we should, technically without residue, we should be doing like 5 units every 14.3 seconds. But as you'll be able to tell once these drones start returning, you're going to see them return 0. Just because of the residue mechanic, which is kind of ridiculous. But I'm just going to let this run for a minute and, yeah, just get these guys at, full orbit. That's the other thing, too, that I just don't really like about the way drone mining is like, it doesn't matter how close you are to the rock. There's no sweet spot anymore. Really, these drones are just going to, like, go into a full orbit. And if their cycle ends in on the backside, then they're just going to have travel time. There's really no way to fight the travel time. There's no way to really minimize it because it's just, they're on that orbit mechanic. And that's just kind of how that is. So as you can see here, we're full siege now. We're pretty close to the rock. We're going to start moving away from it a little bit. And we'll probably end up settling somewhere around, 1,000 meters, 1K or whatever. But as you see here, we've already been going for almost a minute or so. And we've only returned 1 unit. So if you can manage to actually stay out here for a decent amount of time, it starts to pay off. But if you are in a very hot area and you're not able to, stay on grid for too long, it's probably not worth it. Now, that doesn't mean the compression system that's out now is completely bad. I mean, if you're like solo mining out in like high sec, like before, you'd have to locate like a structure that had compression, and sometimes you wouldn't even have access to it. And so like, orca mining, was very difficult because of just compression or like just, exploratory mining and stuff like that. But I think that the potential for since the orca and the porpoise can also just compress as well, I think it's actually a really positive thing to have the siege module and the compression module on the orca just going out there and doing like high sec ore and just kind of like packing even more into that ship and taking it to market. And the Rorqual has been just kind of like nerfed so much, pretty much constantly in the past like 5 years. They've obviously wanted it to be like a boost ship for the most part, but with, I still like the aspect of, the excavator mining drones, and I kind of wish that they had their yield kind of returned back to them a little bit. That'd be really nice to see. As you can see now, we're at about 20. So I'm going to go and turn on the compression module, which is right here, as you can see. So I'm going to turn that on. And then what that does now is that's just going to cycle just like your siege module. It doesn't restrict your movement. And plus, if you down siege, if you red siege, you come out of deployment, then it'll automatically, at its cycle end, it'll turn off because you can't actually have it on without the industrial cooler going. So you can just normally, like you would it before the compression change, you can just hit there and compress. But now it actually is an extra step. It opens this like compression box here, which shows input output, which is just another click that you have to do to get there. Kind of obnoxious. But like I said, if you were like with if you got security with you and you're out here with like your, corporation or even your alliance, and you're technically solo mining, but you've got a bunch of people out here with you, you could potentially like, it's still efficient, right? It's still, easier than, bringing out a, Rorqual with a bunch of hulks. And I mean, obviously you're going to get more yield that way, because if you're using faction modules on your hulks, then, you're not going to get any residue at all. But really, they just don't want people drone mining, essentially. Even augmented drones on like the orca, they have so much, yield loss that it's very painful if you ever had mined before the big nerf last year. But the punches kind of keep on coming. And that's what's sad about it, is like I've always been kind of like, I started off Eve playing, mining, and it's something I really did enjoy. But ever since I had started playing Eve like 2 years ago, every single patch that had anything to do with mining was always just kind of a nerf, and it always just kind of went down and down and down. until we got to a point where it's like even station compression is, you know, taking a hit as well, and it's just affecting the economy overall. And I'm a really big ice miner too. Like, you know, I like to build fuel blocks. That's kind of like my little thing. So normally, since these changes have been made to the solo Rorqual mining, I've had to, like, you know, commit to alts and, you know, just go normal boost on the Rorqual with, you know, just a bunch of hulks out there just to get like a decent amount of ice for the fuel block game in a short, like an efficient amount of time. Whereas, like, I feel like with the excavators, and what I used to do is just with the excavators, just go out here and do this, kill a few rocks, and then give me enough to make a few, you know, quite a bit of blocks. Which is not very efficient anymore, as you can see. Just in like the, I mean, 20. You know, we should have done 20 in like a minute, but it's been a lot more than that. And of course, that's another thing too you have to worry about is, you know, the rats that come in as well. So we're going to go and do like we normally do. We're going to suck in all of our excavators, and they're going to take their sweet ass time getting here. And we'll go ahead and get everybody up and running. I usually throw Wasp out for the destroyers just because, like, you know, they have a really difficult time doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to send Hornets out to the destroyers, and then we'll suck in the Hornets to do Wasp for the battleship, just so we can get the, and that's the thing too, is like you want to be able to take these guys down pretty quick just so you can get those excavators back out. You can't leave the excavators out at all because they'll just get targeted by the rats. They have basically no shield, and, you know, they're pretty costly even still. I don't want to sit here and wait for these Hornets to try to take this this battleship down, so we're just going to go and throw out our heavies like we normally do, and they're going to be slow, but the battleship's not that far away anyway, so we're going to wait and get this guy down. Yeah, so the video's been going for about 12 minutes, and we've gotten 47 units of compressed ice, which is still a 1-for-1 compression ratio. And and this is just a good example of like how even rats can just kind of completely disrupt your whole mining operation. What I've been having to do recently is, like, even when I'm like solo mining, you know, if the rats are really bad, I'll usually bring out like a golem or, you know, a tengu just to sit on grid, and all they do is just worry about taking care of rats and things like that. So we're going to throw these guys back out, and I think we're going to actually, what are we closer to? We might change targets here. Well, actually, we're going to double up here. So we'll go ahead and throw 2 on that one, and then we'll throw 3 on the one that's right below us, since we're actually kind of still moving that direction. We're coming in pretty hot from that, and we'll use a booster just to get this shield up. Booster's really good. Right now I'm using CONCORD Capital Shield Booster. It's pretty much my go-to. I try not to run any of this stuff when I don't have to. Like the hardeners and stuff, you can run. You know, you don't have a cap issue. If you do try to run, you can run the boost as well, and you'll still be fine on cap. It's when you're running that shield booster, it just really sucks your cap down. So normally this is what I'd be like running if I was like had people on grid with me. So you kind of just, we'll let you see how the cap does for this fit. Compression's still on, so yeah, you can just kind of keep on going. I just wish it wasn't like this whole, like, I wish it was just like it was before, where I could just hit compress and it would just compress instead of putting in this little like window over here. That's just kind of obnoxious to me. It's like an extra step that just doesn't feel like it's really needed. Even though the yields, I'll say this, even though the yield is actually a lot worse than it used to be, I still enjoy mining solo with the excavators. It's just it would be nice to feel like you had more yield for the amount of skilling that goes into it, because you gotta realize, like, when you do, like, in, capital industrial reconfiguration for the siege module, and you do all the ice mining drone stuff to get the excavators all capped out, and you get your capital industrial ship 5 maxed out for the yield, and then now on top of that there's new skills to just get the compression back on the Rorqual, which I think, like, total baseline is just like 26 days of additional training just to be able to compress again. After all that skilling, I feel like it should have much better yield at the end of it, because honestly you could just more easily and even cheaper just like skill a bunch of alts into being perfect, like ice Hulk pilots, and have far consistent more yield. And a lot of that just comes from just not having, if you're using like ore, strip miners, it just comes from like not even having, the residue being a thing, right? All right, so we're actually going to put everybody on this one that's at 2K. That's the other thing too, is like, if you really want to be efficient and not worry about like the approaching the rock and then sieging and then bouncing off of it, if you actually took the time to actually get all the way up to the rock, come to a complete stop, then siege, that's great, that's fine and dandy, but then you just end up losing a lot of yield on that as well. So there's really, you can't win. There's normally a strategy, I'm sitting here chilling, and I'll usually align too. You can pre-align, which is nice. Like, so, I'm targeting these two this rock below me, but like, for instance, if I wanted to go to, let's say, this rock right here after I was done, I could approach. You can see the blue line actually changes. I'm not moving towards it, but what it'll do is when I get ready to down cycle siege, whenever I come out of it, I'll actually just start moving towards it. It kind of just saves me a step. It'll work with your bookmarks, or if you're like going to a station or a pause as well. It's just kind of like my MO for that. So we'll go ahead and compress again. And so, as you can see, it would take a long time now to fill up the Rorqual with compressed ice. Probably not too long on just regular, but you'd probably be out here for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, if you wanted to fill the thing completely with compressed ice, which is an impossibility, really. It's very difficult to do that without getting like interrupted by newts or a wormhole or whatever the case may be. Anyway, I don't want this video to get too long, but I think I've shown enough to like give everybody a perspective on just kind of how things are right now for the poor little Rorqual. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully, as patches come out, and hopefully they're positive for mining, I'll just kind of keep updating the current status of the Rorqual and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.